Well, one of the biggest controversies in world sport right now involves the Saudi-backed LIV Golf Tour, which, in the words of star Rory McIlroy, has ripped golf apart. It's lured a series of superstars with untold riches and taken a lot of criticism for supposedly whitewashing the image of the Saudi Arabian government. Golfing legend Greg Norman is the man behind the LIV Tour, and he joins me now. Greg, great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, Piers. Thanks for having me on.
So look, I'm heading up to the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, which is one of the biggest pro-ams as well as the main tournament in the world. I'm going to be surrounded and maybe playing with one of the top PGA players. And I've got to say, as a golf fan who loves golf and loves watching top golfers, this split in the sport is quite heartbreaking. And I guess my first question to you is, how does this all resolve itself, do you think?
Well, I think over a period of time it will resolve itself, Piers. There's no question about it. Let's just clarify this split. I think this split or this animosity has only come from one side of the ledger, quite honestly. One thing we have really showcased is that golf is a force for good, right? And competition is really fantastic for any part of any business, any sport, even in your profession, competition is fantastic for you. So what we've done is just put another competitive platform for the independent contractors, which is us, which we've always been, I believe, independent contractors, have a choice and have a right to go somewhere else and play the game of golf. Piers, the whole thing about what we've done with LIV, we built the entire system from the ground up to work within the ecosystems. We tried to reach out with the European Tour. We tried to reach out with the PGA Tour. We wanted to integrate ourselves within their system to show that what we have is additive to the sport of golf. And so we've just decided that our product has stood up the test of time in a very short period of time in 12 rounds of golf. The players love it. The fans love it. So we've just decided to go ahead and launch. And, you know, like I said, we've given the opportunity to work with the PGA Tour, to talk to the PGA Tour, but they made the decision, not us.
When you hear someone like Rory McIlroy, is one of the top players in the world right now, without any question, and a very, a passionate and eloquent defender of the PGA Tour, when you hear how scathing he is about what you're doing, what's your message to him?
Well, my message is, Rory, you're an independent contractor. You have the right to make your decision. Remember, Rory started on the European Tour. Then Rory decided to leave the European Tour to go play where all the money is, where I went to play to the PGA Tour. Why did we do that, Piers? We did that because that was the only option we had as players. We had to go sign on to their rules and regulations. We couldn't even negotiate their rules and regulations. So we had to do the only thing we could possibly do is play the tour. What we've done now is give them options. Hey, Rory, happy days, do what he wants to do. You know, if he's comfortable over there doing that, he's an independent contractor, he can. If Rory wants to go to the Middle East and get appearance money to play in tournaments, happy days, go play in those, Rory, that's your choice. Don't begrudge the other players for making the decision. That is a rightful decision under their independent contractual rights to go do it. It's just a shame that people have taken this stance when if you look back over a period of time, they've pretty much done the same thing themselves.
Do you think that it's about morality or money? And the reason I ask that is I actually wrote a column for the New York Post about what I thought was the hypocrisy about a lot of the sports washing debate, in the sense that the Saudis already have a Formula One Grand Prix. They own a Premier League football club, Newcastle. They stage all the big boxing bouts. And none of that gets anything like the kind of opprobrium that you guys have had for setting up a Saudi-sponsored golf tour. And I don't understand what the distinction is. I don't also understand how the PGA, if they're being honest with themselves, could say that they themselves never do business with regimes which wouldn't hold up to much human rights scrutiny. So I see a hypocrisy there. What's your view about that?
Look, Piers, you hit the nail on the head. Hypocrisy. The hypocrisy coming out of this is so deafening, it's ridiculous. Because you're right, the PGA Tour has title sponsors that have a great relationship and working relationship for a commercial opportunity with the Saudi government, with PIF, whatever it is. PIF has done a lot of indirect and direct investment in a multitude of opportunities. There's probably here in this country, 1/3 of this country are the benefactors of that. So I don't understand why it is that way. Sadly, I got an idea because we're the monopolists. I mean, we're going in challenging the monopolist, which is the PGA Tour. It's been the one place to play golf for the last 53 years. All we've done is come in and shown another opportunity, another additive opportunity. Now for the players to make their decision, oh my gosh, I would have loved to have that decision in my day when I had the choice to go and play both tours. Piers, we're not asking our guys, the LIV guys, just to play LIV and nowhere else in the world. We're asking our guys, we're giving them an opportunity. You play here, you can go play anywhere else in the world you want to go play. We're not holding restricted covenants on you where you don't have to get a release. You can go do whatever you want to do. And that's what I'm proud about. I've given these players within LIV the opportunity to grow their wealth and give them the opportunity to go other places to play.
The argument against what you're doing, as you know, is that you're just throwing huge amounts of cash at the top players, many of whom are taking it, that the format of what you do is not as good as the PGA because you don't have a cut system. There's no kind of losing, if you like. There's just equal, different degrees of winning. And also that at the moment you're not getting many people watching this, that the streams aren't getting much traction, and that you need a network to actually take this to the next level. Do you think you're going to be able to achieve that? And have you got networks you think who are going to rise above the sport washing debate to do what you want to do?
Well, 100%, Piers, 100%. Look, going back to the money issue, right? We've been the leader. You take LIV out of the equation, the PGA Tour would never have reacted the way they've reacted by increasing their PIP, increasing their 20 elevated events, giving more money to the players. This is what they should have been doing decades and decades ago. They're a 501c6. Their charter is to promote professional tournament golfers, right? Promote professional tournament golfers. But here all of a sudden, LIV comes along, then all of a sudden all this money pops out of nowhere, out of their reserve. How do you think the players feel that are either on LIV or have been decades and decades in the game of golf, even me included, saying, why didn't I have the right to play for this money? If you've had this in reserve all this period of time for just all of a sudden pop up out of nowhere because of LIV, you've got to ask a lot of questions about that. And these are the part of the things where, from my perspective, what we're producing with LIV, we're a commercial entity. We're investing in new value in the game of golf. And Piers, what is that new value? It's the virgin space that's been sitting there unidentified for years, which is the team franchise value. And the players love this opportunity. They've embraced it. They've loved the team spirit. Yes, they play individual at the same time. I'm talking about your format. But the players love the fact that they can play individually and they play as a team. To see the camaraderie and the locker room and the way these guys interact week in, week out, it's 14 Ryder Cups every year going from 2023 onwards. And I think it's fantastic.
On the morality point, I've seen a lot of your players, some handle it pretty well when they get asked about this. Others have not handled it so well. Some have been completely buried, like Phil Mickelson, which I think has been incredibly unfair, actually. And I'm sad to see a legend of the game like him be pilloried in the way that he has. But there are obviously legitimate questions about the Saudi regime, about the murder of the journalist Khashoggi and so on. Even you, when you've been asked, Greg, about these things, have said things by way of response which have led to criticism. Are you free, because of your association with the Saudi government in this way, are you free to be critical of their human rights records and so on?
Look, Piers, what happened with Khashoggi is reprehensible. But what we're doing now is with golf and the game of golf. What we're doing is showing golf is a force for good across the world, across all platforms. We're reaching down, we're reaching up. We're creating a foundational base for this pyramid of opportunities going forward, not just in the men's game of golf, but we're looking at the pathways and opportunities we can do from collegiate players. David Puig, for example, just turned professional and joined. He was a US amateur guy. He came up from those ranks. We are giving these guys the opportunity, through golf being the force for good, to be able to give them this pathway to where they want to go. So, yeah, look, there's that side of the ledger. There's no question about it. There's going to be questions, no question about it. But we are a commercial entity. We're investing into the game of golf. We're growing the game of golf. And I'll say this, Piers, I've been involved with the game of golf for 45 years. In that 45 years, I have never seen another entity willing to step up to date and give us $2 billion to invest into the game of golf. I think that is just a powerful testament to the strength of the game of golf, number one, and the opportunity as a commercial entity to get a ROI out of the game of golf. It is beneficial to everybody, and to see what it's done on a global basis. I'm a golf ambassador. I have been in my other company, traveling around the world, building golf courses in different places around the world, third world countries, and to see what golf can do to open up countries, to open up hospitality, education, do whatever we need, bring in third-party investment. All those opportunities the game of golf delivers, we're seeing it happening right now.
But again, coming back to my position as a fan, I love playing golf. I'm a ropey 16 handicapper, but I love the sport and everything about it. What I really am struggling...
You only have to give me 8 aside?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, and I've loved watching you play over the years. What I'm sad about right now is, you look at the major tournaments, for example. If your LIV golfers are not allowed to get ranking points, and then they can't qualify for the majors, they cease to be, in my view, proper majors. If you're going to have half the world's best players not able to compete, they're not major tournaments, are they? Similarly, the Ryder Cup, which I absolutely love, you've actually got a split there between players on the PGA Tour disagreeing with each other about what to do with that. You've got Matt Fitzpatrick, the US Open champion, saying he thinks that the LIV players should be allowed to play. You've got Rory saying the opposite. What's happening here is tearing the very fabric of the game in two. And I'm just, again, I come back to how does this somehow get reconciled? If you were predicting what you think is going to happen here, where will we be in a year or 2 years' time?
I ultimately believe there will be some merging of the powers to be, to sitting down, having conversation. We don't want it right now because we've tried. And going back to what you were saying before, we didn't create this turmoil. We just came in with another opportunity for the ecosystem, within the ecosystem, for the players, for the fans. Our innovation and our evolution is second to none. It is changing the way golf is viewed. You mentioned about the viewers, right, and production. Since we came out, since September the 4th in Boston, that moment in time, that last hour of television that you may or may not have seen, that was exactly quintessential what LIV is all about. You've got 4 or 5 guys playing for the individual, and you got 3 or 4 or 5 teams playing for the teams. There was an hour of epic television. There was shots going left, right, and center. People, the fans, see 50% more golf shots played on our format than anywhere else. So we didn't really start this big fight. We didn't create this animosity. And with the majors, quite honestly, Piers, they should be Switzerland, right? If I'm a major, I want to have the best of the best in my field. They're the 4 Super Bowls. They're the 4 FA Cups. They're the 4, whatever you want to call them, that should always remain up there, Switzerland, away from anybody. For them to be dragged into this quagmire, there's going to be a lot of questions needed to be asked about that. But they should be apart from that. And if you're a broadcaster of any of the 4 majors, you should be saying to them, we want the LIV players in there, because 26 out of the top 100 players right now today are LIV players. OWGR, they've got to be, again, Switzerland, because they're an independent organization. There's 22 other tour events in this world that get OWGR points. And I can tell you there's 21 of those 22 are far inferior than what the LIV Tour is all about.
It reminds me...
So why are we being targeted?
Right, I mean, in a way, it reminds me a bit of what happened to my favourite sport, cricket, with Kerry Packer, who I know you knew very well. And when that first all started, he was getting a lot of the heat that you're getting, not for the same kind of reason, but he was getting the same heat for destroying what people felt was a tradition of the game. And, of course, we now have the IPL, which is a hugely lucrative and popular series, which really would never have happened, I don't think, without Kerry Packer and his courage. You yourself have gone under unbelievable fire. You've been snubbed up at the Open. They wouldn't let you go to the Champions Dinner, which I thought was actually very churlish. As a great golfing champion, a great sporting champion, how are you dealing with that kind of vitriol, the kind of disenfranchisement from the sport and the official bodies that were once so welcomed by? How are you on a personal level dealing with that?
Look, to be honest with you, Piers, at times my heat shield gets a little bit weak because I am a human being. I've done a lot for the game of golf. I was #1 player in the world for 6 years. I've done things in the game of golf. I've promoted the game of golf. I've grown the game of golf globally. I took a mission on myself as an individual player to fly all around the world. I was the first guy to do an exhibition match in mainland China. I was one of the first guys to go into the Middle East and do that. And through my golf and business, as at the same time, I continued to do that. So when they do these, what happened in the R&A was a petty, cheap, childish shot, to be honest with you. And if you can't rise above it all, shame on you. Because if you are under pressure from other people exerting pressure on you, shame on you. For you not to sit down and have a discussion and to understand what the LIV business model is and to see how it sits within the ecosystem, shame on you. Because in business, and remember, we're a commercial entity. In business, you understand what your opponent's got. You understand what your competitors got. Unpack it all to see if you can actually work together within the system to make both entities better for each other, not try and destroy us. And we haven't tried to destroy the PGA Tour. We have worked very, very closely to work with them.
Have you lost personal friends in the golf world as a result of all this?
100% I have, yep. But if they want to judge me on lack of information and lack of what's out there, they're the ones with the small mind, right? When you know the facts, you understand the facts, you understand the delivery mechanism and the business model. Piers, let me say this. My C-suite are the best of the best in the world of business. They're economists, lawyers, marketing. They came from a diverse section of sport and business, right? Not golf. Why do I have over 100 of the best in the business? Because of the business model, and the business model is showing through. The product is showing through. So I'm lucky to have these magnificent people behind me. I'm lucky to have an investor willing to invest into the game of golf like they are investing. Golf is lucky to have this.
But do you?
And it's so
what people
petty,
say, Greg?
So
what people say, they say, you know, do you have any moral line about any of this at all? In the sense that I think some of your players were asked at a press conference, well, if Vladimir Putin wanted to set up a golf tour, would you allow that to happen? Would you want to be involved in that? In other words, is there a moral line that Greg Norman wouldn't cross?
My moral line is I believe in the product. My moral line is I've been a big, staunch promoter of growing the game of golf on a global basis. My moral line is golf is the force for good. So when you have this opportunity, and I've seen it, Piers, I've seen it beyond LIV, right? Prior to LIV, I've seen what I've done in Vietnam. I've seen what I've done in Mexico through my other businesses, through golf course design. It is so resonantly just powerful to see the strength of what the game of golf can do in different countries around the world to change the economy of things, to change the hospitality, to change tourism. All these little ingredients that actually golf is the benefactor of, but golf was the initial reason why you could change these deals. So I am so proud to be in this role, Piers, I really am, because my whole life, somebody asked me a question the other day, Greg, do you think this is going to affect your legacy? And I said to him, you know what, maybe my legacy on the golf course is not my legacy. Maybe my true legacy is what we're doing with LIV for the game of golf and giving this opportunity to collegiate players, to eventually to women, to the guys we have today, to be a true competitor, to show that you are additive to the system and our product is speaking for itself.
Is it true you offered Tiger Woods $1 billion and he turned it down?
No. There were discussions. This was pre-me. There were discussions with him, but we don't get into any discussion about any of the players' contracts.
And final question, Greg. I'm going to be playing the St Andrews Old Course and Kings Barnes and Carnoustie in the Alfred Dunhill Links. You've obviously, been very successful on these courses. In particular, I had a bit of a meltdown on the 17th, the famous road hole at the old course last year, live on Sky, where I hit, I think, room 416 with my tee shot. Can you just give me a little bit of advice with your old player hat on for how I should play the road hole?
Well, next time you hit room 416, try and put it through that window and go exit the other window. That tells me you're hitting the golf ball hard and long. So. But no, listen, I'm with you, Piers. I love St. Andrews. It's one of my favorite golf courses in the world. If the road hole is really hit every player has ever played, no matter you're best in the world or you're not. And it's just you're lucky. You're lucky to be involved with Johan Rupert. He's a staunch supporter of the game of golf for what he does there in Scotland year in, year out. So go enjoy yourself. That's all you can do. Have fun, and hopefully one day I'll be able to play St. Andrews with you.
I would love that. And I hope this all gets reconciled, and I hope golf gets together, because I think actually you can all bring something to the party. And I do think the debate is laced with hypocrisy. And I've said that publicly, and I believe it.
Yep.
And it's not to say that I agree with everything that you're doing.
Thank you for that.
But I do think there's a lot of hypocrisy about the argument. And I hope that golf is, in the end, the winner, and that everyone comes together and we can all enjoy all the very best players taking each other on again. Greg Norman, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Piers.